Hey everybody, welcome back to BigRedEDC. Well, recently we checked out, a more premium knife from Remette, the Wild Species. And there was actually a couple of comments on that video about Remette's budget knives and maybe not seeing as much of them anymore. Well, we're going to take care of that today because that is exactly what I have on the table. This is the Remette Canyon. Now, some places it almost looks like it's referred to as the Canyon-1, but for the purposes of this video, we're just going to call it the Canyon. And it is definitely one of Remette's more budget knives. I mean, you're talking about 34 bucks. And on Amazon, there's even a 5% off clickable coupon. So, you're looking at under $35, 33, 32 and a half, whatever 5% takes it down to. But yes, definitely a budget knife from Remette. And it, very, very slim. Obviously, this has kind of got that whole CEO-ish vibe going on. But, so what do you got? I mean, it's pretty much a G10 and D2 knife. Open construction. You do have a pretty good size pocket clip. Now, the pocket clip is actually almost as wide as the knife, at least half as wide of the knife. So a good-sized pocket clip. It is recessed into the G10, and it does have recessed screws, so that is very nice. You also do have a lanyard hole in case you want to throw a lanyard on it. But everything, chamfered off very, very well. You've got it's contoured. It's not really contoured. It's pretty much flat through here. But as you can see, there are nice chamfers on the side. Now, for a knife of this size and this, it doesn't have a whole lot of height or width to it. That contour doesn't necessarily play a role as much for me anyway. It's, we've talked about some flat knives recently, and sometimes they do have a little bit of an odd feel. Totally. And I think, personally, for me, that is totally dependent on the material that's on the handle. Like, we had one recently that was, sort of that faux carbon fiber laminate. And that one, yeah, it felt flat. Absolutely. So, for me, the flatter scales don't really come to play in these narrow or slimline knives. But anyway, we've got flipper. For opening, as you saw, it is a liner lock. Detent is really, really nice on it. No wiggle, no wobble, nice and solid. You've got this reverse Tanto blade. Of course, you've got the Remette logo right there. And there you go. D2 does have some jimping on the blade, which is pretty good on the spine of the blade. It's pretty good. You've got that little pop of orange there on the pivot collar. So definitely, maybe more of that. I don't know if I go so far as to call this, necessarily a gentleman's knife. But it is definitely a little bit more concealable, if you will. So kind of fits in that category for me. Now, this nice slimline blade, it actually performed pretty darn well. I took it to work with me, made a few cuts with it. The 6 and 9 thread it had zero issues with, and it actually performed a lot better than I thought it would on the 21 thread. That wider rope, and I need to rehash that. Had a suggestion for that. I talk about the ropes I cut at work, but I should rehash that for you guys and kind of give you an idea of what they look like. But anyway, very nice. Very slim line, and I kind of dig it the way it is. Definitely that budget knife though, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all. I'm not saying budget meaning bad, but less than 35 bucks. Yeah, not too bad. So what do we got? Well, it's almost 7.5 inches. Almost 7.5 inches, about 4.25 on the handle, which should give us about 3.25 on the blade, which it does. Absolutely. You've got a very, you really don't have a sharpening trail. There is a little bit of a, it's not really a smile. It's more of a frown. But you do have that going on. I mean, if you would want to cut a sharpening choil in there, you absolutely could. Use a small, diamond file and cut it in there. Maybe I should do a video on that too. Huh. Yeah, okay, man. Just getting all sorts of ideas for this one. Anyway, back to the Remette. Grip length, you're coming in at about 3.5, which is, as you guys know, that's pretty much right in my wheelhouse. Now, again, with these slimmer handled knives, that, for me, doesn't necessarily come into play as much. On the larger knives at 3.25 to 3.5, I just love the way it cradles my hand. On these slimmer knives, I mean, you can get a pretty good grip on them. So, doesn't really play as much for me anyway. So, what do you got? 2.2 ounces makes complete sense. 6.63 grams as I throw the knife across the table. Trying to watch the camera, not watch what I'm doing. That doesn't work out too well. It's a fairly deep carry clip, just a tiny bit of peekaboo going on. Nice pop coming out of the pocket, across that seam. You've definitely got, it's definitely stout. Definitely a stout clip. Now, back to that clip real quick. Now, sometimes on these slimline knives, these larger clips can be a bit of an issue for me. I can definitely feel it because, as you can see, it does stand up pretty proud all the way down. It's not terrible. I can feel it down here, right in this area a bit, and that's kind of borderline maybe being annoying to me. It's not too bad, but I definitely know it's there, and I definitely, maybe a little slimmer clip for this. I mean, it's pretty wide for how wide the knife is. I mean, this is a size clip you would see on a much, taller, probably twice as wide knife. So, just one of those issues. May or may not be an issue for you, but I can definitely feel it a little bit more than I would like to. Other than that, it's a pretty solid knife. It's not super droppy at all. So maybe we need some juice. It's definitely, can you one-hand it? Absolutely, that's not an issue. You can flip it. The detent is nice and stout. I really like the detent on it. But it's not going to be super droppy. It's not going to drop shut, and is that a problem for me? Not really. It's really not. Sure, it's fun when those knives drop shut, but like I always say, getting one like this that doesn't, it might give my thumb a break every once in a while. But definitely just kind of that slimline, potentially, suit-ish style knife. Give me your thoughts. Do you think it falls into that gentleman's knife category? I don't think I'd go that far, but size-wise, it kind of could potentially fill that role for sure. It's completely up to the individual. But huge shout out to Remette for sending this one out. I greatly appreciate it. Love checking it out. And like I said, I'm kind of impressed on how it performed, on the larger diameter ropes. And I think I've gotten a couple of ideas for videos coming out of this. Well, one idea was suggested. The rope idea was a suggestion. I like that idea. I should probably rehash that. And the other one is maybe how, I cut a choil into a knife that doesn't have one. Yeah, I think we'll see that here soon. All right, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Greatly appreciate every single one of you for doing so. As always, like, subscribe, leave me that comment. I love talking to you. Until next time, I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.